Have you ever felt like life has grown quieter with age, but instead of peace, that silence feels like something is slipping away? Your joy, your purpose, your spark? Maybe you've noticed the days blending into one another, or you're waiting for a phone call that doesn't come, or you've started believing that passion, discovery, or new beginnings are no longer meant for you. You're not alone, and this video is here to change that. We're diving into the 9 fatal mistakes that quietly steal the richness from your later years. Mistakes you might not even realize you're making, and more importantly, how to break free from them with small, powerful choices. You need to watch until the end because this isn't just about identifying what's holding you back. It's about reclaiming the life you still deserve, starting right now, with practical steps to rediscover your joy, your dignity, and your story. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Mistake 1. Believing passion dies with age. One of the most pervasive and damaging myths we carry into our later years is the notion that passion is a fleeting quality, one that inevitably wanes as we age. Society often sends a subtle but persistent message. Once you reach a certain milestone, be it 60, 70, or 80, it's time to retire not just from work but from the vibrant pursuit of dreams, desires, and creative endeavors. The world begins to treat you as if your story is winding down, as if your role is to step aside, settle into a quieter existence, and let go of the spark that once defined you. This belief doesn't emerge in a vacuum. It's reinforced by external cues. Friends and acquaintances stop inquiring about your interests. Invitations to new adventures dwindle. Even family members, with the best intentions, may start to see you as someone whose best days are behind them, someone to be cared for rather than celebrated. But this narrative is fundamentally flawed. Passion doesn't vanish with age, it only dims through neglect. The fire that once fueled your enthusiasm for life, whether it was for music, painting, gardening, or an unfulfilled dream like writing a novel or exploring distant lands, doesn't simply extinguish because you've added more years to your life. It fades when we stop nurturing it, when we stop permitting ourselves to feel excitement, curiosity, or joy. The longer we allow this flame to flicker without tending to it, the easier it becomes to convince ourselves it was never there at all. We begin to internalize the idea that our capacity for passion is tied to youth, that dreams are the domain of the young, and that to pursue them now would be foolish or out of place. Yet, the truth is far more liberating. Passion belongs not to an age, but to those who are willing to embrace it. It belongs to those who dare to feel deeply again, to care fiercely, to risk the vulnerability of trying something new, even if they're not particularly good at it. Passion in later years may manifest differently. It might not burn with the frenetic energy of youth, but instead glow with a quieter, more deliberate intensity. It might be slower, more reflective, but no less powerful. It still has the canned soul to remind you that you are not merely existing but truly living, that your presence in the world still matters, because it does. Consider the story of a woman who, at 78, decided to take up pottery. Her hands, stiffened by arthritis, struggled with the clay at first. She produced lopsided bowls and uneven mugs, but she showed up to the wheel every week, her eyes alight with determination. When asked why she started so late, she replied, "I spent my life raising kids and working. Now, I get to make something just because it makes me happy." Her creations weren't destined for galleries, but they were hers, born from a rekindled spark she refused to let die. Or think of the man who, at 74, began learning the piano. His fingers fumbled over the keys, and sheet music was a foreign language, but he practiced daily, not for applause or recognition, but for the sheer joy of creating sound, of coaxing melody from silence. When I asked him why he chose such a daunting challenge so late in life, he grinned and said, "For the first time, I'm doing this with no one watching. It's just for me." This is the profound gift of passion in later years. It's unburdened by expectation. It's not about proving yourself or competing with others. It's about rediscovering the parts of you that still long to create, explore, and grow. Maybe you once dreamed of writing poetry, dancing tango, planting a garden, or learning to speak Italian. Perhaps you told yourself, "That ship has sailed. That version of me is gone." But what if that version of you is still there, patiently waiting for you to return. What if all it takes is one small step? Picking up a paintbrush, signing up for a class, or simply allowing yourself to dream again. If there's something that still stirs in you, a hobby you abandoned, a place you long to visit, a skill you've always wanted to try, listen to that whisper. Nurture it. Take one small action to feed it, whether it's buying a sketchbook, joining a community choir, or taking a walk in a place that inspires you. Passion doesn't demand perfection. It asks only for your willingness to show up. When you do, you'll find that the fire you thought was gone is still there, ready to warm you, ready to remind you that you are not done living. To believe your passion has expired is to risk living as though you've already faded away, and you haven't. You're still here, and the world still needs your light. Mistake 2. Anchoring your emotional well-being to your children. There's a quiet, often unspoken grief that settles into the hearts of many older adults, an ache that has little to do with physical ailments or financial strain. It's the pain of waiting for a phone call that doesn't come, a visit that's repeatedly postponed, or a moment of acknowledgement that you're still a vital part of someone's life. For many, that someone is their child. Pour our hearts into raising our children, sacrificing sleep, time, and dreams to ensure their safety, happiness, and growth. It's only natural to expect that bond to endure, to hope for a continued closeness even as they build lives of their own. But when our emotional well-being becomes entirely dependent on their attention, we set ourselves up for a cycle of longing and disappointment that can erode our sense of self. This dependency often begins subtly. A missed call stings a little. A forgotten birthday or canceled visit leaves a quiet wound. Over time, these small hurts accumulate, and without realizing it, we start to measure our worth by how often our children reach out, how much time they spend with us, or how closely their care mirrors the devotion we gave them. When their lives, filled with work, partners, children, and their struggles, pull them in other directions, the absence feels personal. It's not just loneliness. It's a deeper sense of becoming invisible, of fading from relevance in the lives of those we love most. The truth, though often hard to hear, is this: your children may love you deeply, but they cannot be your sole source of emotional nourishment. They are navigating their complex worlds, balancing demands that you may only partially understand. Expecting them to fill the role of your primary confidant, companion, or source of joy places an unfair burden on them and sets you up for inevitable heartache. It's not that they don't care, it's that no single person, not even your child, can fill the multifaceted space in your heart that craves connection, purpose, and fulfillment. This isn't about diminishing the importance of family ties. It's about recognizing that you are more than a parent. You are a person with your interests and capacity for joy. When was the last time you pursued something purely for yourself? Not to I busy or to please someone else, but because it made your heart sing. When did you last reach out to a friend, join a group, or explore a hobby that had nothing to do with your role as a parent? Building a life that doesn't hinge on your children's availability doesn't mean loving them less. It means loving yourself more. Consider the woman who, after years of waiting for her grown children to visit, joined a local book club. At first, she was hesitant, unsure if she'd fit in or have anything to contribute. But week by week, she found herself looking forward to the discussions, to the laughter and debates with new friends who saw her as more than someone's mom. Or the man who, tired of feeling sidelined by his son's busy schedule, started volunteering at a community garden. The work gave him purpose, a sense of belonging, and connections with people who valued his presence. These small steps didn't erase the longing for family, but they shifted the balance, allowing these individuals to relate to their children from a place of fullness rather than need. By cultivating your source of joy, whether through friendships, creative pursuits, spiritual practices, or simply savoring your own company, you reclaim your emotional independence. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your existence, and in doing so, you transform your relationships. When you connect with your children from a place of contentment rather than lack, the dynamic shifts. You become someone they can engage with as a vibrant, multidimensional person, not just a parent awaiting their attention. It's okay to miss your children, to wish for more time together. But don't let that longing define you. You deserve to be the first to remember your worth. Build a life that feels rich and meaningful, no matter who shows up. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Mistake 3. Neglecting the body because it's too late anyway. As we age, it's easy to fall prey to a subtle but insidious belief that caring for our physical health is no longer worth the effort. I'm too old, we tell ourselves. What's the point? This mindset leads us to skip meals or eat without intention, to let physical activity dwindle, to ignore nagging pains, or to let sleep routines erode. At first, it might feel like acceptance, a surrender to the natural progression of aging. But in reality, it's a quiet form of resignation, a gradual relinquishing of the care we once gave ourselves. This neglect manifests in tangible ways. Getting out of bed becomes a struggle, stairs feel like mountains, clothes no longer fit comfortably, and the mirror becomes a place we avoid. This isn't about chasing youth or striving for an idealized physique. It's about dignity, about honoring the body that has carried you through decades of life. Neglecting your physical well-being sends a message to your spirit that you no longer matter, that your presence in the world is incidental. But your body is not just a vessel. It's the foundation of your ability to engage with life, to experience joy, to move through the world with intention. And here's the truth, it's never too late to show it care. People in their 70s, 80s, and beyond are walking daily, practicing gentle yoga, lifting light weights, or cooking nourishing meals, not to defy aging, but to embrace it with vitality. Take, for example, the 82-year-old woman who started swimming twice a week. She wasn't aiming to compete. She simply wanted to feel strong enough to play with her grandchildren without pain. Or the 76-year-old man who began taking short walks after years of inactivity. At first, he could barely manage a block, but over months, he extended his route, noticing not just physical changes but a renewed sense of pride in his resilience. These acts of care aren't about perfection or longevity. They're about presence, about showing up for your own life with clarity and strength. Your body responds to how you treat it, even in small ways. Drinking an extra glass of water, stretching for 10 minutes in the morning, choosing a meal that nourishes rather than just fills, these efforts accumulate. They rekindle a sense of agency, a reminder that you still have the power to shape your experience. They foster a quiet pride, a recognition that you are still here, still capable of feeling good in your own skin. That shift can transform how you move through the world. You might stand a little taller, make choices from self-respect rather than obligation, or rediscover simple pleasures like a walk in the fresh air. If you've told yourself it's too late, that your body is past the point of care, let me gently challenge you, you're wrong. It's not about turning back time, but about returning to yourself. Your body is not an afterthought. It's the home you live in, the only one you'll ever have. Treat it with the kindness it deserves, and you'll find it's still capable of carrying you toward a life that feels vibrant, connected, and wholly your own. Mistake 4. Hoarding money but starving life. There's a certain pride in being prudent with money, especially when it's the fruit of decades of hard work, sacrifice, and discipline. Saving diligently, planning for the future, and maintaining financial responsibility are all admirable traits. They reflect a life of foresight and care. But for many older adults, there comes a subtle shift where savings stop being a tool for security and start becoming a fortress built not out of wisdom, but out of fear. This fear often begins with a single reasonable thought. What if something happens? What if there's a medical emergency? What if the economy takes a turn? What if I outlive my savings? These are valid concerns, but when they dominate every decision, they can quietly reshape your life in ways you never intended. You might find yourself saying no to dinners with friends because the restaurant feels too pricey. You skip the vacation you always dreamed of because it's not essential. You forego small joys, a new book, a concert ticket, a cozy blanket, because you're convinced every penny must be preserved. Over time, this mindset turns saving into starvation, not of your body, but of your spirit. You might meticulously clip coupons to save on groceries, but in doing so, you neglect the deeper nourishment your soul craves. The joy of a spontaneous coffee date, the thrill of a new experience, the warmth of gifting something meaningful to a loved one, these are sacrificed on the altar of caution. The belief creeps in that safety, represented by a growing bank balance, is more valuable than joy. But here's the stark reality. Money that sits untouched is not safety. It's not comfort. It's not love. It's merely potential. Potential that, if never realized, leaves your life untouched by the very resources you worked so hard to accumulate. Too many people reach the end of their lives with bank accounts brimming but hearts heavy with regret. They look back and see missed opportunities. The trip to a place they always wanted to visit, The art class they wish they'd taken, the dinner parties they could have hosted, the moments of connection they let slip away. These are not frivolous expenses. They are investments in a life fully lived. Yet fear, louder than desire, kept them from acting. This isn't a call to throw caution to the wind or to spend recklessly. It's a reminder that money's purpose extends beyond mere survival. You didn't work tirelessly just to amass a pile of untouchable wealth. You earned it to enhance your life, to create moments of meaning, to reclaim time and presence in your later years. Money is a tool for beauty, for buying fresh flowers to brighten your room, for savoring a warm pastry from your favorite bakery, for hiring help to ease the burdens of daily tasks so you can focus on what truly matters. It's for generosity, for sharing with others, for forging connections that make life rich. It's for comfort, for rest, for the quiet joys that remind you you're still vibrantly alive. Pause for a moment and reflect. Are you holding your savings so tightly that life can't slip through? Are you living like a prisoner of your wealth, guarding it at the cost of your spirit's expansion? When you prioritize protecting your money over enriching your life, your world begins to shrink. Your experiences are narrow. Your spirit, once bright with possibility, starts to dim. You trade the vibrant tapestry of human experience for the cold illusion of control. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can choose to use what you've earned, to let our savings breathe life into your days. Spend on what brings you joy, even if it's small. Invest in experiences that remind you of your vitality. Honor the labor of your past by allowing it to fuel your present. That's not wastefulness. It's a celebration of the life you've built. You've paid the price for your wealth. Now, don't forget to enjoy what it can buy. Not just security, but a life that feels full, connected, and alive. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Mistake 5. Thinking it's too late to start over. As we age, a subtle but insidious belief can take root. I've missed my window. It's not a loud proclamation. It's a quiet, persistent whisper that grows louder in moments of reflection. It surfaces when you consider learning a new skill but dismiss it as pointless. It nudges you when you dream of change. A new hobby, a new city, a new way of being, but then convinces you too late. This belief doesn't just stop you from taking bold risks. It stifles your ability to dream, to grow, to reinvent yourself. It convinces you that starting over is a privilege reserved for the young, for those with decades ahead to recover from missteps. But this is a lie, and a dangerous one. Starting over has nothing to do with the number of years behind you and everything to do with the courage within you. Reinvention isn't bound by age. It's fueled by the willingness to imagine a life that fits who you are now, not who you were decades ago. It's about having the bravery to write a new chapter, no matter how many pages you've already turned. Consider the people you know who've stayed trapped in lives that no longer suit them. Not because they love their circumstances, but because they believe change is no longer an option. They remain in towns that feel stifling, in relationships that have grown cold, in routines that drain their energy, all because they think the opportunity for something different has passed them by. But nothing is ever truly out of reach. As long as you're here, you have the power to begin again. Starting over doesn't mean appending your entire life. It doesn't require moving across the globe or abandoning everything familiar. Sometimes, it's as simple as choosing to release an old grudge, freeing yourself from emotional weight. It can be taking small steps toward better health, a daily walk, a new recipe, a commitment to rest. It can be social, like reaching out to a neighbor or joining a community group. It can be spiritual, rediscovering a practice that once brought you peace or exploring a new path to meaning. These acts of renewal, however small, are powerful declarations that you're not done growing. I once met a man in his late 70s who, after losing his partner of 40 years, felt his life was effectively over. For months, he barely left his home, consumed by grief and isolation. But one day, he decided to volunteer at a local animal shelter. The decision wasn't grand. He simply wanted to feel useful again. That first day, walking dogs and talking to other volunteers, he felt a spark he hadn't known in years. Over time, he became a fixture at the shelter, forming new friendships and finding purpose. His story isn't unique, but it is a testament to the power of small, courageous beginnings. Starting over doesn't erase your past. It honors it by refusing to let it define your future. If that whisper in your mind says, "It's too late," challenge it. It's never too late. As long as you have breath, you can become something new. One small choice, a new habit, a new connection, a new curiosity, can shift the trajectory of your days. You are not finished. You are still becoming. Mistake 6. Living on autopilot and withdrawing from life. As the years accumulate, it's easy to slip into a rhythm that feels safe but grows dangerously monotonous. You wake up, brew the same coffee, sit in the same chair, follow the same routine, and go to bed wondering where the day went. Days blend into weeks, weeks into months, and before you know it, life feels like a loop. This is the trap of autopilot, a state where predictability becomes a cage, and the vibrant pulse of living starts to fade. Autopilot isn't just about routine, it's about disengagement. Over time, you may find yourself withdrawing, not just from social circles, but from your curiosity, your sense of wonder. You stop seeking new ideas, new experiences, new content and tie-ins. You become someone who is merely getting through the day, not truly living it. This withdrawal doesn't always stem from a dramatic event. Sometimes, it's the slow accumulation of small choices. Saying no to invitations, avoiding new challenges, letting the world shrink to the size of your living room. The human spirit isn't designed for stagnation. Our minds thrive on stimulation, our hearts on connection, our bodies on movement, even in our later years. Without these, we begin to dim. Research shows that a lack of mental and social engagement can accelerate cognitive decline, while isolation can weigh heavily on emotional and physical health. But the reverse is also true. Even small doses of novelty IPE, a different walking route, a conversation with a stranger, can reawaken your brain, lift your mood, and remind you that life is still vibrant. It's understandable why withdrawal feels tempting. Loss, illness, or the overwhelming pace of the modern world can make retreat seem like the only option. Rest is important, yes, but withdrawal is not rest, it's surrender. It's hiding from a life that still has so much to offer. Ask yourself, when was the last time you tried something unfamiliar? When did you last challenge your mind or heart, not to prove anything, but simply to feel awake? Small acts, a new book, a different genre of music, a phone call to someone you haven't spoken to in years, can break the cycle of autopilot. They remind you that the world is still turning, and you are still part of it. You don't need to fill every moment with activity, but you do need to be intentional. Choose one small thing each day that pulls you out of the haze, a walk in a new park, a journal entry, a kind gesture. These moments aren't just distractions, they're lifelines to a world that's still waiting for you. Don't let autopilot steal the richness of your later years. You are still here, and life is still calling. Answer it. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Mistake 7. Clinging to draining relationships. As we journey through the later years of life, our social circles often contract. Friends relocate, some pass on, and family members become increasingly absorbed in their responsibilities and pursuits. In this quieter, sometimes isolating space, it's natural to hold fast to the relationships that remain, even when they no longer nourish us. We cling to connections out of habit, nostalgia, or fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of being seen as disloyal, fear of having no one left. But holding on to relationships that leave us feeling depleted, disrespected, or unseen can erode our sense of self far more than solitude ever could. Loneliness is heavy, no question. It can feel like an ache that lingers in the bones, a weight that colors our days. But there's a deeper, more insidious kind of loneliness, one that comes from surrounding ourselves with people who diminish us. A conversation that leaves you tense and anxious, a visit that feels more like an obligation than a joy, a phone call laced with criticism rather than warmth. These interactions chip away at your emotional reserves. They leave you questioning your worth, replaying words in your mind, wondering why you feel so small. Yet, out of loyalty, guilt, or a sense of duty, we keep showing up. We keep answering the call, attending the gathering, maintaining the connection, even when it costs us our peace. For many older adults, there's a deeply ingrained belief that setting boundaries is selfish, that walking away from a relationship, especially one with history, is an act of betrayal. We've been taught that endurance is noble, that loyalty means tolerating mistreatment, that love requires sacrifice, even at the expense of our well-being. But this is a misunderstanding. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's an act of self-respect. It's a recognition that your heart, your time, and your spirit are sacred, and they deserve to be guarded with care. Choosing to step away from relationships that harm you is not cruelty, it's clarity. And clarity is the foundation of peace. Consider this. Just because someone has been part of your life for decades doesn't mean they have an eternal claim to your emotional space. Longevity is not a synonym for mutual respect. A relationship that survives only because you swallow your feelings, silence your needs, or tolerate behavior that diminishes you is not a relationship built on love. It's one rooted in fear, disguised as loyalty. True connection lifts you. It sees you for who you are, not who someone expects you to be. It makes you feel safe, valued, and heard, not small, invisible, or burdened. You deserve relationships that reflect your worth, relationships that leave you feeling lighter, stronger, and more like yourself. If those relationships aren't present in your life right now, it's okay to create space. It's okay to pause, to step back, to prioritize your well-being. Sometimes, distance is what allows us to rediscover our value. In that space, we often find room for new connections. Ones that align with who we are today, not just who we were decades ago. These new relationships don't have to be grand or numerous. Even one person who truly sees you can transform your world. Let this be clear. You are allowed to choose peace over history. You are allowed to grow beyond people who refuse to grow with you. You are allowed to say, "This no longer serves me," without guilt or apology. Not every relationship needs to end, of course. Some can evolve, but only if both parties are willing to listen, to respect, to show up with honesty and care. Start by speaking your truth. Not with blame, but with authenticity. Share how you feel, what you need, and what you can no longer carry. You might be surprised by how others respond when you stop playing the role they've always expected of you. But even if they don't change, you can. That's the power you hold. You can choose to protect your energy, your heart, your sacred space, especially now, when every moment matters. You didn't come this far in life to be a vessel for someone else's frustration, anger, or unmet needs. You came this far to live fully, to feel free, to embody the wisdom and strength you've earned. Freedom often begins with a single, courageous word. Enough. Say it, and watch how your world begins to shift. Mistake 8. Abandoning your spiritual life. There's an emptiness that runs deeper than loneliness, boredom, or the monotony of routine. It's a quiet, persistent ache, a longing for connection to something greater than the daily grind, something that transcends the tangible world. For many older adults, this ache emerges when the spiritual dimension of life begins to fade, not through a conscious choice, but through gradual neglect. Life's demands, grief, illness, caregiving, or simply the weight of years, can pull us away from the practices and moments that once nourished our souls. Perhaps you used to find solace in prayer, whether whispered in a sacred space or spoken silently in your heart. Maybe meditation grounded you, or time spent in nature, watching the slow dance of leaves or the rhythm of waves, felt like a conversation with the universe. Perhaps you once felt a sense of wonder, a curiosity about life's mysteries, or a faith that carried you through hardship. But as time passed, as losses piled up or life grew more complicated, those practices slipped away. You told yourself you were too busy, too tired, or that you no longer needed them. Maybe pain, betrayal, illness, or unanswered prayers made you question whether there was anything left to believe in. It's easy to live on the surface, to focus on the practical, caring for your body, managing your home, keeping up with appointments, while neglecting the deeper needs of your soul. But the soul doesn't stop yearning just because we've grown older. If anything, it calls to us more urgently in these later years, asking for stillness, for reflection, for space to grapple with the big questions. What am I here for now? What does peace look like at this stage of my life? What still holds meaning for me? These are not questions with easy answers, but they are questions worth asking, because they lead us back to ourselves. Your spiritual life doesn't need to conform to anyone else's definition. It doesn't require a specific religion, a set of rules, or a prescribed path. It simply needs to be authentic. A space within you that feels alive, honest, and connected to something larger. It might be found in the quiet of a morning walk, the act of lighting a candle and sitting in its glow, the practice of writing your thoughts in a journal, or the simple act of asking, what still matters to me? Your spiritual life is a sanctuary, a place where you can rest from the noise of the world and remember that you are more than your name, your history, or your age. Reconnecting with your spirit doesn't mean having all the answers. It's about staying open to wonder, to gratitude, to the possibility of meaning even in life's uncertainties. It's about learning to surrender, not in defeat, but in trust, letting go of what you can't control and finding peace in what you can. It's about returning to the part of you that has always been whole, unbroken, and timeless, no matter how many years have passed or what hardships you've faced. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Mistake 9. Believing there's nothing left to discover. Perhaps the most insidious mistake we make as we age is the quiet conviction that life's greatest discoveries are behind us. It's a subtle belief, one we might not voice aloud, but it settles into our thoughts like dust. The idea that the big moments, new friendships, profound experiences, flashes of wonder, belong to youth, that surprise is something we outgrow, that the world no longer holds anything new for us. This belief can creep in without warning, flattening the colors of life, dulling our curiosity, and turning us into bystanders in our own stories. You might notice it in the way you move through your days, walking past beauty without pausing, hearing laughter but feeling distant from it, watching time slip by without a spark of anticipation. You might tell yourself, this is just how life is now. The exciting parts are over. This is what's left. But what if that belief is the only thing standing between you and something extraordinary? What if the only thing keeping you from wonder is the assumption that it's no longer yours to claim? Discovery doesn't require youth, a passport, or a grand adventure. It requires only attention, a willingness to be present, to notice, to stay open. You can find something new in a book you've never read, a path you've never walked, a conversation with someone you've never truly listened to. You can discover something new within yourself, a thought you've never explored, a feeling you've never named, a strength you didn't know you had. Some of life's most profound awakenings happen not in our 20s, but in our 70s, 80s, or beyond, because they're rooted in the depth of lived experience, the clarity of gratitude, and the wisdom of knowing what truly matters. The danger of believing there's nothing left to discover is that it invites resignation. You stop participating fully in your life. You become a spectator, watching from the edges, convinced that your story has already been written. But you were not made to fade. You were made to keep unfolding, to keep growing, to keep reaching for meaning and beauty, no matter your age. So, let yourself be surprised. Let yourself explore. It doesn't have to be monumental. A new hobby, a new perspective, a new way of seeing the world can be enough. Fall in love with a song you've never heard, a corner of your garden you've never tended, a memory you've never revisited with fresh eyes. Pay attention to the small moments, the way the morning light spills across your kitchen table, the sound of a stranger's laughter, the feeling of your breath, the seeds of wonder, and they are still yours to plant. It's never too late to be moved, to be amazed, to feel the world come alive again. All it takes is a single choice, to look up, to lean in, to believe that there is still more to discover. Because there is. There always will be. You've just journeyed through the 9 fatal mistakes that can quietly dim the light of your later years, and more importantly, the small, courageous steps you can take to reclaim your joy, dignity, and purpose. Your life is still unfolding, and it's never too late to write a new chapter. So, what have you learned today? What's one insight that resonated with you? One thing you're ready to bring into practice in your own life? Drop it in the comments below. Your words might just inspire someone else on this journey. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're here to walk this path together, honoring every stage of life with care and honesty.